Hello, this is Steve Jolly with Real Estate Marketing All Stars, and I'm glad to be here with you today. And this is part two of my series on how to engage and educate today's buyers. In the first part, we looked at understanding clients, but not understanding them on a surface level, but really understanding them down deep and taking that information and trying to develop a persona of an ideal client that you can use to write to and to create marketing to marketing pieces to, so that when you speak to the client, it makes a connection and they want to develop a relationship with you because you guys seem like you're one and the same person, or you're very like each other. And so we learned a little bit on what kind of questions you need to ask, what kind of market research you need to be doing in order to develop that customer persona, and also on the flip side, to develop an avatar of your selling persona so that you can consistently show to the world through your marketing and your social media communications who you really are and what you can do for folks. So today we're going to focus on engagement and how to engage with people and what's changed over time. If you look at this first slide, John Russell of Harley Davidson said, "The more you engage with customers, the clearer things become and the easier it is to determine what you should be doing." And that's so true, because you engage with your friends and family all the time, and that's probably relatively easy for you because you know their interests, you know what they like to talk about, you know how they like to communicate, you know if they want to talk face to face, or if they prefer texting, or they prefer email or the telephone. But with leads, and especially online buyer leads, it's hard to know because you really don't know them and their interests, and you don't know how they want to communicate. But you want to find out what's the best way to engage these folks, to have real conversations about real estate with them, and also how to capture their interest without annoyance or without disruption to their lives. All right. So let's move on to the second slide. And this is where my engagement plan comes from. And I call it my system, I call it the 60 days of engagement. And it's a very, very simple system. It has three parts to it: the initial response, the actual 60 days of engagement, these 9 weeks of compelling communications, and then also a long-term nurturing component for those who aren't ready yet. You have to have really all three: for those that are ready to buy, for those that are close to ready to buy, and for those that are going to be ready to buy sometime in the future. So part one is really your initial response to the lead. What you do when you first get notified of having a lead, usually through email or through one of your lead generating systems. Now, part two is all those communications that we do to try to encourage them, to try to encourage these leads or these buyers to call us back or to get in contact with us, and also to teach them about what our systems can do for them, how we can help them, how we can meet their needs, and how we can help them meet their goals. And then part three is a long-term nurturing program designed to continue to educate folks and to continue to prepare them to buy a house when they're ready, and also to stay on top of their mind. So like I said before, this system is designed to encourage the person to respond, to educate them about the process, and then what you can do for them regardless of when they're ready to buy. So my 60 days of engagement system is very simple, and I designed it that way because simple systems, you use them more often, and you typically don't get bogged down in them, and you continue to use them going forward. So that's why I like to keep things as simple as possible. So you see, it starts off with the initial response that you get from the lead. And then from there, all of these leads, all these buyers go into the 60-day engagement process. And if they at any time respond during those 60 days, then you need to make a decision on what to do with the buyer. You set an appointment, or can you set an appointment? Do you move them to long-term nurturing? Do you delete them from the system? And if they don't respond during that time period, I automatically move all those folks into long-term nurturing. Unless for some other reason that I know that they're not a viable candidate, and then I would just delete them from the system. Mark them off your list. And don't get upset when you mark people off the list. I'm happy because that's one less person that I have to try to engage to. So I'm anxious to get a yes or no response from these people. Yes, we want to move forward, or no, we don't want to move forward. So some people ask, why did I choose 60 days? Well, part of the reason is in this slide right here. You can see persistence pays off. Your chance of making contact increases exponentially for every time you make contact. If you can see from the charts, usually by your 6th attempt, you'll have a 90% chance of making contact with people. So they always make at least 6 call attempts or 6 attempts to contact a person. I increase mine a little bit more because I want to give myself the most opportunity to make a connection with these folks. And so also by increasing your attempts to at least 6, you increase your chances of making contact by 70% over the person that makes 1 call attempt or 1 contact attempt. That's a huge increase. So persistence pays off. You'll also see that most reps, most sales folks give up on leads too soon. Only 30-something% of them actually, according to this study, make an attempt to call somebody the first time. 1 attempt. And as you get to the 2nd and the 3rd and the 4th attempt, there's virtually nobody making these contacts with their clients. So this is a great way to set yourself apart from your competition by staying in contact, because the other realtors out there, they're not doing it. So let's look at my secrets to initial engagement. So, as we all know, we live in a microwave society. We live in an instant society, a drive-through society. Everybody wants action now, including the buyers out there and the leads that contact you. And they want an instant response to their inquiry. And waiting too long definitely gives a bad first impression. And that's not what we want. We want to make a good first impression. We want to make a first impression that shows that we're helpful. Not that we're pushy or salesy or spammy, but we want to make a quick, helpful impression. And also we want it to be personalized. Nothing says impersonal like an automated response, especially if the person that receives the response is smart enough to realize whether it was sent via an autoresponder or not. Overall, I avoid autoresponders in my communication for several reasons. But the main one we'll talk about here is I do it mostly to set myself apart from the competition and also for natural engagement. Most autoresponders don't have a time setting. So if somebody is searching for homes at midnight and makes an inquiry and you have an autoresponder set up, they're going to get an immediate autoresponder back to them. And immediately they're going to know that it was an autoresponder, because most realtors aren't up at night giving immediate answers to people's questions or immediate responses to their inquiries. So once again, I try to avoid autoresponders to set myself apart from the competition and to make the engagement more natural, so that when they do respond, that I will respond back to them in a natural way. So what do buyers expect from us on our initial engagement? Well, if you look at this chart from the California Association of Realtors, you'll see almost 50% of buyers out there expect an instant response from agents. An instant response, most people will say within 5 minutes, is an instant response. But as you've seen, it's grown over time, and expectations have grown with technology. Technology's made it easier for us to give an instant response, and that's why our clients, our leads, our buyers expect that. So also remember too that your leads are buying houses. They're not buying consumable goods. So most people have different expectations from people that sell products that are high end or they're costly purchases than they do for buying shoes or clothing or some other general consumer item. These folks want to feel special. They want to feel important, and we need to meet their expectations by giving them an instant response as much as possible. Now, understand we probably can't do this in the middle of the night, and I would say the buyer's expectation isn't for us to respond in the middle of the night, but I would assume that first thing in the morning they're going to expect some sort of response from us. And also another thing about response time that we've found out is that response time drives engagement. So if you want to communicate with these folks, if you want to have real estate related conversations with folks, you need to quickly respond to their inquiries. And here they're saying the best time to respond is within 5 minutes. And within 5 minutes, they had almost 90% connection time to getting in touch with people if they responded right away. If you wait another 5 minutes and you wait till 10 minutes, you have 1,000% decrease in being able to connect with people just by waiting a few extra minutes. And in the odds of qualifying them, you have a 400% decrease if you wait 5 minutes. So the best thing to do, like I said, is to try to respond as quickly as possible. If you wait 30 minutes, your response rate is almost zero. And if your response is late because you were in a meeting or something else, that doesn't mean we shouldn't respond to somebody. Go ahead and send it. Work on ways, apologize to the person for the delayed response, and try to find out ways that you can harness technology to improve your response time. One of the things I use to do that is I use Follow Up Boss and their templated emails, and I'll talk a little bit more about that going forward. This is what your competitors are doing, how other folks are responding to their leads or how they are not responding. So let's take a quick look at your competition. So responding is such an easy way to set yourself apart from the competition, and you're going to make a good first impression. Now, InsideSales.com did some secret shopping of responses across the web. Mostly what they did was they filled out forms and made online inquiries of different companies, of thousands of different companies across the web, and then tallied up the responses and see what they got. They discovered that most companies make only 1.5 attempts to contact you. That's pathetic. Most of them wait at least 44 hours to make the first call, and 55% of companies don't even respond at all. 55% of companies took the time to develop a website that would generate leads, built a form to collect those leads, and decided not to respond to them. To me, that is totally amazing and unbelievable at the same time. So like I said, response is such a great way to set yourself apart. All right, so here is the inner workings. This is the crux of my 60 days of engagement system. And his system is designed to encourage engagement and educate the clients on what we can do for them. My week 1 and week 9 emails are very short, conversational type emails, attempting to elicit a response from the lead. Like my first email that I send out, my main question that I ask them, I let them know who I am, that I'm here to help them, and I ask what is the best way that they communicate. Do they prefer to be texted, emailed, or telephone? So, and I'm trying to get just a quick response from them, let them know email or text or whatever they prefer. So week 1 and week 9 are those types of emails, trying to get a short email, a short conversational email with the attempt to get them to respond to us so we can get and start that conversation. Weeks 4 through 8, those are when I usually try to make phone calls, text, or have some kind of social interaction with them. Well, we don't always have their phone number, and we don't always know, have their social. We can't always find them in social media. So if I don't have a phone number for those weeks, I also send out some kind of quick, engaging, conversational type email in order to elicit a response from them. Now, my weeks 2 and 3, 5, 6, and 7 is a short email with a long report that's usually a link. And I do this purposely instead of having a super long email. And I do it for two main reasons. First of all, most people don't read long emails. That if they look and they see it's more than a few paragraphs, half the time they're just going to click out of it. The second reason I use it is because of tracking. Because you can set up tracking to see who's opening the attachment. And that provides me with some insight on the interest level of this lead. So if they are looking at my reports, that means they are more interested than, they have a higher interest level than the average lead. So that's going to trigger a call or a text, or for me to reach out to them further and to try to start that engagement, to try to start that conversation if it hasn't already been started. Ooh, and let's get down to some good stuff here about why is text better than voicemail. So this was a study that was recently done by the California Association of Realtors, trying to look at what is the preferred method of communication between a buyer, a client, and an agent. So it looks like we're doing a pretty good job with email. The preferred and the actual line up together. So that to me tells me we're meeting their expectations or very close to it. But when we look at the telephone and text messaging, it's an exact flip-flop. We're calling more than our clients want and texting less. So these people want us to text them more and want us to call them less. Now I understand not everything works well in a text, and there's time where it's best just to pick up the telephone. But if you're trying to start that engagement, you're trying to start that conversation, start working texting into your communication plan to help improve that engagement. And one of the ways I try to determine this, because it's different for every client, is like I said a few minutes ago. In that first email that I send out, I ask them what their preferences are for how to communicate, and I get a lot of responses that way. So let's try to work texting a little bit more into your business and back off on the telephone, especially with those leads who we haven't we haven't communicated with. So if you're having trouble reaching them, they're not responding to your phone calls or not responding to your emails, don't leave a voicemail, send them a text instead. All right, now what happens when you get a response? So if your lead responds, that's great, that's awesome. However, based on your conversation that you just had with them, you're going to have to decide on a path for this lead. If they are ready to start looking, then I'd go ahead and set an appointment right away to meet them. If they have another agent, or maybe they're looking for their daughter or something like that, I might delete them out of my database if I don't see there's any way that I could work with them in the future. Now, if they're not quite ready, I'm probably going to leave them in that 60 days of engagement, and when that's over with, they'll just naturally transition to my long-term nurturing when completed. So once you get a response based on the level of response, these are the decisions that you're going to have to make. Okay, what is this long-term nurturing that I'm talking about? Once again, for me, it's pretty simple. It's simple to follow up, and it's simple to manage. I send out, for all my buyer leads, a monthly email, and it may or may not have a report attached to it. For my seller leads, I'm going to be doing the same thing, but it's going to be a different email. It's going to be geared more to them. So you want an email that's geared toward those buyers or whoever, what type of lead that you're trying to work with, and send it to them with, or you may not have a report, just depending on what you're trying to communicate that month. If I have connections to them on social, I'll try to make some kind of monthly social interaction. I try to put all my clients that I have in lists in each of the different social media. So I'll have a client list in Facebook and in Twitter, and I'll use that to search through there and just to try to have some social interaction with them on a monthly basis. And that may be something simple as, posting to their wall or making a comment in their email or even liking something that they posted. And what the things that I would share would be one of two items. Something that they're going to find valuable, and you have to know them a little bit. And you have to understand them before you can decide what is valuable to them. And their social media profile might help you do that. And it does or does not have to be real estate related, because you're just trying to make a connection with them and trying to keep in contact with them. So everything that you send to them does not have to be real estate related. But you hope that the stuff that you do send that is real estate related elicits that response from them to start that conversation. And if it's not something that's valuable to them, how about something that makes them smile? Something that makes their day. Just based on what you know about them. I think that's the best thing that we can do with social media, is give them something that they value, or give them something that entertains them and makes them smile. And then once a quarter, I try to do a phone call if I have their number and follow up with them. See how they're doing, see how they're progressing along in the process of buying homes. See if they've read some of the reports I've sent them and if they had any questions or had any comments. Or if I have an event coming up, that's a great excuse to give them a call and invite them to the event. In addition to sending out an email or an evite or a mailing to them, it's always a good idea to call and give a personal invitation. So these are the three types of things that I'm doing with my long-term nurturing. And all this stuff I'm recording within my CRM so that I keep track of all of my communications, so I know I'm staying on track and meeting my goals. So what type of engagement tools do I use? Well, I think we need at least 3 different types of tools. The first one is some sort of lead system. I use Follow Up Boss, which has really 2 functions. The first function, it works as a lead aggregator. So if I have leads coming from more than one source, it takes all those leads and puts them into my CRM for me, so I don't have to manually enter the information. So you don't want your CRM, which the main function of your CRM is just to give you a little automation and just to keep track of your activities so that you know who you're calling, when you're calling, so you can meet your goals and stay on target. But you don't want to be spending all your time entering data into the system. You want your system to be able to use to contact and to help you stay in touch, but you shouldn't be spending tons of time entering that information. And to me, that was the biggest problem with the original CRMs that came out 10 and 15 years ago. There was too much work of manually entering information. So look for something that has some automation to it, and that's why I love Follow Up Boss. It pulls in all of my email communication per client so that I can see it like a news feed of all the stuff that I've sent to them and all their responses back to me. And also, when the lead comes in, it automatically fills in all their address, telephone number, contact information, social media links. So it builds a profile of all that information for me to make it easier. The second tool that I think you need is email tracking. For 2 reasons. One, so you can make sure that your stuff is being delivered and they're reviewing it, so that you know that their lack of response is maybe they're just not ready. or that one if it does get delivered and they are clicking on your reports and on your links once or 5 times or 20 times even, that gives you some kind of indication, a trigger that you might need to reach out to them again. This might be a great time to call them if they're really looking at that information. They're probably putting it to good use in their search. So that's a great time to reach out to them. I use 2 types of tracking because you're sending email from your phone and also from your desktop or from your laptop. So I use Sidekick. It integrates with my Google, your Gmail or your Google Apps for Business email platform, and tracks those emails for you. There's another product out there called Yesware. There's also one called Streak, which is a CRM that you can add on to your Gmail to allow you. But one of the functions it has in it is tracking. Now, for my mobile, for emails that I send out on my telephone, and most of those are my immediate responses, I use Mail Tracker to track those so that I know somebody's opened the email and or the link right away. And then the last engagement tools, you need some kind of discovery tool to find out more about your clients. Follow Up Boss has some of that built into it, but you can also use products like Connect 6. Sidekick has some discovery information in it, and also Reportive. These are all things that you can add into your Gmail that's going to tell you, bring in more information about the people just based on their email. Sometimes you can find out more of their contact information from Connect 6, from Reportive and stuff. You can get all of their social media links and where you can find them. So there's a lot of great information out there. There's so much you can't manually go and do it, so you need these tools to help you along that process. So enough with the engagement tools, and there's more tools out there. These are the ones that I'm most familiar with, and these are the ones you see other real estate agents use. But like I said, there are plenty more engagement tools out there, and there's new ones coming on the market every day. So find a tool that works, find tools that work for you, that you like, and then implement them in your business. All right. These are some considerations you should think about in your engagement plan. And the first one is about autoresponders. Now, I used to use autoresponders, but I personally quit using them for all of my email communications. Instead, I use templated emails through Follow Up Boss, especially to prospect for these buyer leads. So all these emails that I've written, I've stuck them in templates in Follow Up Bosses, so that within a few clicks I can send them an email based on what I've already sent to them. But I also have the opportunity to go in there and edit it with just a few lines and personalize it for them, so that of course these templated emails have things built into them where they'll automatically enter their first name or their address if you want to. But you might want to add some more personal information, like if there was a game on TV that that they watched last night, you might want to start out your email by mentioning that connection to them. So I prefer to use templated emails or just a plain manual email over an autoresponder, just because, one, it is much more personal, and for two, lots of stuff from autoresponders end up in spam mail. People get so many of them now that they understand that they're automatically sent, and it has less meaning to them. So consider templated emails versus autoresponders and see what fits best into your business. One of the newest things coming out lately is automated email marketing. It's kind of like a smart autoresponder. So you can set up an autoresponder series that will occasionally send them out some type of email, but also there's some automation that's built into it. So if they click on a link, they might automatically get another email. Or if they make a certain inquiry, they might get another automated email. I think soon enough people will learn that these are automated and not personal, and they'll lose their ability to compel people to respond to you over time. So those are great things that you can use in your business if you use them properly. But just knowing that knowing that there's something that you have to consider out there, whether you decide you want to use them in your business or not. And then the last thing is your engagement style. So do you want to design a system that fits your engagement style, or do you need to change or tweak your engagement style to fit a certain system that you want to use? I'm not saying my system is the best and that everybody should use it, but it works for me and my engagement style. So I'm saying that's one of the considerations you should have. Don't just copy someone else's style and someone else's system because it works for them, but think about how it works for how you communicate and if it's the right one for you. And so lastly, what I want to talk about today is engagement goals. So these are the goals that I have during this engagement process, and these are the things that I want to accomplish during this 60 days. So I want to personally address all their concerns that they have and provide value. And I do that mostly, I would do that over the telephone or in person if I happen to have an opportunity to have an appointment with them. But if not, my secondary plan is to do that through those emails and through those reports. Because I've taken the time to understand my client, I have a pretty good idea of what almost all their concerns are, or their main concerns, and I try to answer those and show them how we can overcome those obstacles and help them meet their goal. And so I think that's where you really addressing those concerns and the value that brings is huge. So whether you can do it in an appointment or whether you have to do it through email, that's one of the goals that we have to do through the engagement process. My second goal is to determine or discover their intentions or determine their intentions. Are they ready to buy? Are they going to want to buy in 2 months, 6 months, a year? Or are they never going to buy and they're just nosy neighbors? So those are one of the intentions that I want to discover, because I want to make sure that I'm sending them information that is right for them, and that I also don't want to waste my time on folks that are probably never going to buy from me. My third goal is try to discover their preferred method of communication. Do they want me calling them? Do they want me texting them? Do they want me emailing them? How do they want me to communicate with them? Goal number 4 is to try to develop a relationship. Try to develop something. It's probably going to start off small, but it builds over time. It builds up to the point where you have a real estate related conversation, and that's really when you start to become their agent. When you can start to have those conversations about real estate, then you know that you are developing a relationship and that you have made a good impression upon this person, and that you have a good opportunity to become their agent. All throughout this process, don't only look for opportunities to help them, but look for opportunities to help their friends and their family. Just because they're in an engagement process does not mean that you cannot ask them for referrals, especially if they're not really ready to go yet. If they're going to wait 6 months or a year, that's a good time to ask them if there's anybody else they know that needs this kind of help. So just because they're not a customer yet doesn't mean that you cannot ask them, or you cannot look for opportunities to ask for referrals, or look for opportunities to show them how you can help their friends and family. Because I think that's the best way that I get referrals, is by showing them how I can help their friends and their family. And then my ultimate goal is to set an appointment where I can sit down face to face, because that's where I think not only me, but I think probably you also are best in a face to face, in a one-on-one appointment with the lead or the buyer. And so I think that That has to be our ultimate goal, is to set that appointment. So this is part 2 of how to engage today's buyers. Part 3 will be coming soon. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them down in the comments. Take care and have a great day. This is Steve Jolly from Real Estate Marketing All Stars signing off. Take care and have a good day.